The world of ancient dreams. 200,000 years ago, when the earth was still young and mysterious, there existed a truth that few knew. The waking world was only half of reality. The other half existed in dreams, in a parallel dimension where souls traveled every night. In that distant time, in a region that would one day be called South America, there existed an ancestral forest unlike any other. Its trees were so ancient that their roots reached the earth's core. Its leaves glowed with a soft light even in the deepest darkness. And in the heart of that forest there was a sacred place where the worlds of wakefulness and sleep met. The ancient spirits called that place the Twilight Portal, a point where the line between being awake and asleep became as thin as mist. It was a place of immense power and even greater danger, for in dreams, anything was possible. And when anything is possible, chaos can easily reign. It was to protect this delicate balance that Cuca'thra was born. Chapter 1. The Birth of a Guardian. The night Cuca'thra was born was unlike any other. The moon was full, but its light had a strange quality, silvery and golden at the same time, as if it couldn't decide whether it was day or night. The stars pulsed in patterns that seemed almost intentional, as if they were writing messages in the sky. At the Twilight Portal, something was happening. The mist that always hovered there began to thicken, to swirl, to take shape. It wasn't a quick process. It took hours, with the mist slowly molding itself into something that seemed almost, but not quite, solid. When the transformation finally ended, there she was, Cuca'thra. She was not like the other spirits of the forest. Her form was fluid, constantly shifting between various appearances. Sometimes she seemed like a tall and majestic woman, with hair that flowed like water. Other times she appeared as an ancient creature, with eyes that gleamed with ancestral knowledge. And sometimes she seemed made entirely of interwoven shadows and moonlight. But there was one constant in all these forms: her eyes. They were eyes that had seen both wakefulness and sleep, both reality and dreams. Where am I?" were her first words, her voice like a whisper in the darkness, comforting and slightly unsettling at the same time. "You are at the threshold," a voice replied. It was Morpheus, the elder of dreams, one of the oldest and most powerful spirits of the forest. His form was even more ethereal than Cuca'thra's, as if he were made entirely of dream mist. "You are between two worlds, and that is exactly the place you must protect." "Protect?" Cuca'thra looked around, trying to understand. "Protect from what?" "From everything," Morpheus replied gravely. "Come, there is much you need to learn." Chapter 2. The Two Worlds. Morpheus took Cuca'thra on a journey through the two realms she was destined to guard. First, he showed her the waking world, the physical forest, with its real trees, its flowing rivers, its living creatures. "This is the world you can see, touch, feel," Morpheus explained. "It is governed by physical laws, cause and effect, action and reaction. It is stable, predictable, safe." Then, he took her to the other side, the world of dreams. It was indescribable. Imagine all the dreams of all the creatures that ever lived, interwoven into an infinite tapestry. Here, a rabbit dreamed of giant carrots, and those carrots existed real and tangible in the dream world. There, a jaguar dreamed of eternal hunts, and those hunts unfolded in forests that changed with every blink. Here, everything is fluid, Morpheus said, his voice echoing strangely in that impossible space. There are no fixed laws. A thought can create mountains. A fear can conjure monsters. A hope can birth suns. Cuca'thra was awed and terrified at the same time. It's beautiful, but it's also chaotic." "Exactly," Morpheus agreed. "And that's where the danger lies. Look there." He pointed to an area of the world of dreams that seemed sick, dark, twisted. It was where a predator was having nightmares, and those nightmares had taken on a life of their own. Creatures of pure terror wandered there, threatening to spread to other areas of the dream world. If nightmares grow too strong, they can leak into the waking world, Morpheus explained. And when that happens, well, you don't want to see what happens. So my job is to prevent that, in part. But there's more. Morpheus took her to another area where something equally disturbing was happening. Here the dreams were so sweet, so perfect, that the souls visiting didn't want to leave. They became trapped there, forgetting their bodies in the waking world. Too many dreams are also dangerous, Morpheus said sadly. Balance, Cuca'thra. Always balance. Not too many nightmares, not too many sweet dreams. Creatures need both to grow, learn, evolve. Cuca'thra began to grasp the magnitude of her responsibility. And how do I do that? How do I maintain the balance? You will learn, Morpheus smiled. But first, you need to meet the other guardians. Chapter 3. The Guardians of the Realms. Morpheus introduced Cuca'thra to the other spirits who helped maintain the balance between the worlds of wakefulness and sleep. There was Nyx, the guardian of the night, whose presence brought the gentle darkness necessary for sleep. She was ancient beyond imagination, existing before the forest itself. Her form was like a cloak of living stars, ever changing, ever beautiful. Sleep is sacred, Nyx said to Cuca'thra, her voice as soft as velvet. It is when souls heal, when memories are processed, when the impossible becomes possible. Without sleep, madness comes. Always. There was Hypnos, the weaver of dreams, responsible for creating ordinary dreams, those little nighttime movies that helped minds process the day. He was practical, almost mundane in his approach, but his work was essential. Not every dream needs deep meaning, he explained as he wove a simple dream about a bird flying. Sometimes the mind just needs to rest, to wander without purpose. These dreams are like breathing. You don't think about them, but you can't live without them. There was Phantasos, the shaper of forms who molded dreams into images that minds could comprehend. He was artist and architect, sculpting dreamscapes from pure imagination. The world of dreams is chaotic by nature, Phantasos said, creating a floating city with a casual gesture. My job is to give shape to that chaos, to make it make sense, even if it's dream sense. And finally, there was Iselos, the guardian of nightmares. He was dark and intimidating, but his eyes showed surprising kindness. Everyone fears me, Iselos said without bitterness. But nightmares serve a purpose. They confront us with our fears. They prepare us for real dangers. A creature that never has nightmares doesn't learn caution, and creatures without caution die young. Cuca'thra absorbed it all, beginning to understand how each piece fit into the larger puzzle. And what is my role among all of you? She asked. You are the guardian, Morpheus replied. We create, shape, deliver the dreams, but you ensure the entire system keeps functioning. You are the watcher, the protector, the one who maintains the balance when we're all too busy with our individual tasks. It was an enormous responsibility. But as Cuca'thra looked at the other guardians, she saw acceptance and support in their eyes. She would not be alone on this journey. Chapter 4. The First Crisis. Cuca'thra didn't have much time to adjust to her role before the first crisis arose. It started subtly. Some creatures in the forest began having trouble sleeping, then more and more. In a few days, dozens of animals wandered the forest at night, exhausted but unable to find rest. Cuca'thra investigated, traveling between the waking world and the world of dreams. What she found alarmed her. In the world of dreams, there was a disturbance. Something was creating a barrier, preventing souls from entering deep sleep fully. They were trapped in an in-between state, not awake but not truly sleeping either. It was as if someone had placed a door where there had once been a free passage. What is this? Cuca'thra asked Morpheus when she found him. The Elder of Dreams examined the barrier with growing concern. This shouldn't exist. Something or someone is blocking the natural path between the worlds. They followed the barrier to its source and found something unexpected. It was a young creature, a kind of feline Cuca'thra didn't recognize. But this creature was having such an intense, terrifying nightmare that its fear had crystallized around it, forming a wall that now blocked others from entering the world of dreams. "This is rare," Hypnos murmured, appearing beside them. "When a nightmare is too strong, it can create structures in the dream world, and those structures can affect others." "How do I fix this?" Cuca'thra asked. "You need to enter the nightmare," Isilos said, materializing from the shadows. "You need to confront the fear causing this and soothe it." "Enter the nightmare? How?" "You are the guardian," Morpheus said gently. "You can go wherever you wish between the worlds. But be careful. Inside another creature's nightmare, you will be vulnerable. The fear there is real, even if it's not physical." Cuca'thra took a deep breath, or the dream equivalent of it, and plunged into the nightmare. It was like entering a world of pure terror. She was in a forest, but a distorted and horrible version. The trees had screaming faces. The sky was always falling, but never finished falling. And at the center of it all, the small feline was being chased by something enormous and formless, a presence of pure fear. Cuca'thra realized she had only one choice. She placed herself between the feline and the terrifying presence. "Stop!" Her voice echoed through the nightmare with an authority she didn't know she possessed. The presence hesitated, and in that moment of hesitation, Cuca'thra acted. She didn't try to destroy the nightmare. That would be futile, as the fear would return. Instead, she transformed it. With delicate gestures, she began to reshape the nightmare world. The trees with screaming faces became ordinary trees. The falling sky stabilized, and the formless presence. She molded it into something the feline could comprehend and face. Not something harmless, but something with a defined form. A normal predator, large but defeatable. The nightmare didn't disappear completely. Nightmares never do entirely. But now it was manageable. The feline could face it, learn from it, grow through it. When Cuca'thra emerged from the nightmare, the barrier had dissolved. Souls began flowing back into the world of dreams. The balance was restored. "You did well," Morpheus said, pride clear in his voice. "You understood the main lesson. It's not about eliminating nightmares, but making them bearable. Transforming uncontrollable terror into manageable fear." Cuca'thra looked at her hands, or what served as hands in her ethereal form, with new understanding. She was beginning to grasp her power. Chapter 5. The Art of Vigilance. In the months that followed, Cuca'thra immersed herself fully in her role as guardian of eternal sleep. She learned to read the signs that indicated impending problems. A strange pattern in the dream world's stars, a subtle shift in the texture of the mist between the worlds, the sound of irregular breathing in the waking world. She developed a routine. Every night, as twilight fell over the forest, she began her patrol. First in the waking world, checking if all creatures were healthy enough to sleep properly. Then, as the night advanced, she transitioned to the world of dreams, observing the flow of souls, ensuring everything was balanced. It wasn't glamorous work. Most of the time, it was just silent observation. But occasionally, problems arose that required her intervention. There was the time a group of young creatures discovered they could share dreams. It seemed innocent at first. Friends playing together even in sleep, but soon they began spending more time in the dream world than awake, neglecting their physical bodies. Cuca'thra had to gently separate the shared dreams, reminding the young creatures that, as wonderful as the dream world was, they still had lives to live in the waking world. There was the occasion when an elderly predator, nearing the end of his life, began having such vivid dreams of his past that he confused dream memories with present reality. He would wake not knowing where or when he was, or even who he was. Cuca'thra worked with Phantassos to adjust the predator's dreams, clearly marking memories as past, helping him distinguish between then and now. It was delicate work, like weaving threads of gold through an already complete tapestry, but when they finished, the predator could spend his final days in peace, knowing who he was and what he had achieved. And there were the darker cases. Sometimes true darkness tried to infiltrate the world of dreams, not the ordinary nightmares that served a purpose, but something worse, a formless, reasonless darkness that simply wanted to consume. In those cases, Cuca'thra had to be more than a guardian. She had to be a warrior. Chapter 6. The Nameless Darkness. It was on a moonless night that it happened. Cuca'thra was on her routine patrol when she felt something wrong. It wasn't an ordinary nightmare. It wasn't a dream that had gone too far. It was something entirely different. At the heart of the world of dreams, where there was normally soft light and silvery mist, there was now a void. A hole in the dream reality, black as the space between stars, and growing. Cuca'thra called the other guardians immediately. "This is ancient," Nyx said, her voice showing genuine fear for the first time. "This is from before dreams, before sleep. It is the Primordial Void." What? Cuca'thra had never heard of it. When the world was new, Morpheus explained, his form trembling slightly. There was no distinction between wakefulness and sleep. Everything was chaos. The Primordial Void is what remains of that time, an echo of absolute chaos. Normally it is dormant, trapped in the deepest layers of reality. But sometimes it awakens. And what happens when it awakens? Cuca'thra dreaded asking. "It consumes," Aeschylus replied grimly. "Dreams, nightmares, souls, everything. It is not evil, not in a conscious way, but it is not good either. It is just nothing. And nothing wants to turn everything into more nothing." Cuca'thra looked at the growing void. She could already see dreams being sucked into it, vanishing without a trace. Soon, it would reach the more populated areas of the world of dreams. And then, "We have to stop it," she said with determination. "We cannot stop it," Nyx said sadly. "No one can. We can only contain it, seal it again. And that requires sacrifice." "What kind of sacrifice?" The guardians exchanged glances, clearly reluctant to answer. Finally, Morpheus spoke. "Someone must enter the void. They must become an anchor, a living anchor that keeps the seal closed. But whoever does so will be trapped there, on the border between existence and non-existence forever." "Forever?" Cuca'thra repeated. "Forever," Morpheus confirmed. "That's why the void was able to escape this time. The last guardian who sealed it. Well, even spirits don't live eternally. When he finally unraveled, the seal weakened." Cuca'thra looked at the void again. It was growing faster now. Soon there would be no choice. It would consume everything. And she realized something. She was the youngest of the guardians. She would live the longest. She could hold the seal longer than any of the others. "I will," she said. "No," Nyx protested. "You've barely begun your existence. You can't throw it all away like this." "I can, and I will," Cuca'thra interrupted gently. "This is my responsibility. I am the guardian. And you said, someone must do this. Better me, who has centuries ahead to hold the seal, than one of you." The other guardians wanted to argue, but they knew she was right. With sorrow in their eternal eyes, they prepared her for what was to come. "The void will try to erase you," Morpheus warned. "It will try to make you forget who you are, why you're there. You must cling to your essence, to your reason for being." "How do I do that?" "Remember," Nyx said, touching Cuca'thra's forehead softly. "Remember those you protect. Remember every soul that sleeps in peace because of your work. Remember your purpose." Hypnos wove a dream and placed it in Cuca'thra's heart. "This dream is your anchor. As long as you can dream of your purpose, you won't lose yourself." Phantasos shaped a protective form around her. "This won't last forever, but it will give you time. Use it wisely." And Aeschylus, the guardian of nightmares, did something surprising. He smiled. "You are brave, Cuca'thra. Braver than any of us. Remember, even in the void, you are not alone. We will be on the other side, always." Then Cuca'thra turned to the growing void and began walking toward it. Chapter 7. In the Heart of the Void. Entering the void was like plunging into icy water that was also on fire. It made no sense, but that's exactly what she felt. It was everything and nothing at the same time. Every possible sensation and no sensation. Cuca'thra could feel the void trying to unravel her, trying to erase her memories, her identity, her very being. It was like invisible fingers were gently but persistently trying to wipe her existence away like chalk on a sidewalk. But she resisted. She remembered. She remembered the small feline trapped in the nightmare and how she had helped it. She remembered the young creatures learning the balance between wakefulness and sleep. She remembered every soul that had passed peacefully from one world to the other under her care. "I am Cuca'thra," she said into the absolute darkness. "I am the guardian of eternal sleep, and this is my purpose." The void didn't respond. It couldn't, not conscious in the way she was. But she could feel its presence, its intent to consume, to return everything to primordial chaos. "It means this species will have a relationship with dreams unlike any other creature. They will dream with more intensity. They will create entire worlds in their minds. But it also means they are more vulnerable to getting trapped here." Cuca'thra understood the gravity of the situation immediately. If this new species began getting trapped in the world of dreams, they would never realize their potential in the waking world. "I need to help," she said. "But you are sealing the void. If you distance yourself, I won't distance myself completely. Just a fraction of my consciousness. The seal will hold." Before Morpheus could protest, Cuca'thra was already acting. She projected a small part of herself, not much, just enough, toward the lost human soul. When she reached the child, for it was a child, Cuca'thra could tell, she saw through new eyes what it meant to be lost in the world of dreams. For this self-aware creature, it was terrifying. Everything changed constantly. Nothing made sense. It was like being in an endless nightmare. "Shh," Cuca'thra whispered, her presence enveloping the child like a protective cloak. "You are safe. I am here." The human child, a small boy with big, frightened eyes, looked around, still unable to see Cuca'thra directly, but feeling her presence. Where am I?" His voice was a terrified whisper. "You are dreaming," Cuca'thra explained gently, shaping her voice into something the boy could understand. "Just dreaming, and I will help you wake up." "I can't wake up." "I tried." "I can't. Because you are too afraid. The fear is holding you here. But you don't need to be afraid. I will show you the way." Cuca'thra began weaving a path through the world of dreams. It wasn't a physical path, but a path of thought, of intention. She took the boy's chaotic fears and transformed them into something ordered, comprehensible. "See?" she said softly. "The world of dreams is beautiful when you are not afraid. Look at the colors. Listen to the sounds. Feel the possibilities." Slowly, the boy's panic began to subside. He began to see the world of dreams not as a prison, but as a place of wonder. And as his fear lessened, the path back to the waking world became clearer. "When you want to wake up," Cuca'thra instructed, "you just have to truly want it. Without fear. Just calm intention. Try." The boy closed his eyes. A funny gesture in the world of dreams, where sight didn't work the same way. He took a deep breath, and then, with quiet determination, he willed himself to wake. And he woke. Cuca'thra felt the boy's soul return to his body in the waking world. She felt the moment of confusion as he oriented himself, and then the immense relief when he realized he was back, safe. "You did something important," Morpheus said, appearing beside Cuca'thra. "You just taught the first human soul how to navigate between the worlds. That knowledge will spread, and this species will grow stronger because of it." Cuca'thra watched as the small spark of human consciousness drifted away, returning to its daytime life, and she knew it wouldn't be the last time she helped these new, strange creatures. Chapter 11. The Guardian of New Souls. As millennia advanced, more and more humans began to populate the Earth, and with each generation, they developed a more complex relationship with sleep and dreams. They created stories about the dream world. They invented gods and sleep spirits. They developed rituals for better dreams. And Cuca'thra, from her position between the worlds, watched it all with fascination. These human creatures were unique. They dreamed not just about their experiences, but about possibilities, about futures that didn't yet exist, about worlds that would never exist. Their imagination was so powerful that sometimes it created permanent structures in the world of dreams, dreamscapes that persisted even after the dreamer woke. But with great imagination came great vulnerability. Humans were especially susceptible to persistent nightmares. Traumas they experienced in the waking world manifested in increasingly elaborate ways in their dreams. Cuca'thra found herself working more and more with these human souls. She learned their languages, at least their dream forms. She understood their unique fears. She developed special techniques to help them. For a human mother who had lost a child and couldn't stop dreaming of the loss, Cuca'thra wove dreams of gradual healing, first allowing the pain, then slowly introducing happy memories, until the mother could dream of her child without being consumed by suffering. For a warrior who had seen too many horrors and was tormented by violent nightmares every night, Cuca'thra created a safe space in the world of dreams, a place where he could process his experiences without being destroyed by them. For human children frightened by the dark, by monsters under the bed, by nameless fears, she sang her lullabies, adapted for human minds. And the children slept protected. Humans began telling stories about her, though they didn't know they were stories about a real entity. They spoke of the Lady of Sleep, the Mother of Dreams, the guardian who never sleeps. And Cuca'thra listened to these stories with a mix of amusement and melancholy. They were so close to the truth, yet so far. She wasn't a lady or mother in the way they understood. She was something older, more fundamental, but it didn't matter. What mattered was that they felt her presence. They knew on some deep level that they weren't alone in the darkness. Chapter 12. The Weight of Eternity. More millennia passed. The forest Cuca'thra once knew changed dramatically. Humans shaped it, creating clearings, building structures. Some areas were destroyed, others were cultivated. From her timeless position, Cuca'thra observed it all. She saw human civilizations rise and fall. She saw eras of peace and periods of war. And through it all, she continued her silent work. But the weight of eternity was beginning to make itself felt. The primordial void still pressed against the seal. Every day, every night, though day and night were almost meaningless concepts where she was, it tested the limits. And Cuca'thra had to resist, ever vigilant, never resting, because who guards the dreams of others has no dreams of their own. Nyx visited during this time and noticed the fatigue in Cuca'thra. "You need rest," the guardian of the night said gently. "How can I rest?" Cuca'thra replied, her voice carrying the weight of ages. "If I loosen even for a moment, the void could escape. Then we must find someone to replace you. Another guardian to take your place." "No," Cuca'thra said firmly. "I chose this path and I would choose it again. These souls, all of them from the smallest insects to the most complex humans, they deserve peaceful sleep. They deserve dreams. They deserve to be protected from primordial chaos. If my sacrifice ensures that, then it is a sacrifice I make gladly. But the cost is mine to bear," Cuca'thra interrupted, but not in anger. With quiet determination. "This is my purpose. My reason for being. I am the guardian of eternal sleep. And as long as there is a single dreamer in need of protection, I will remain." Nyx looked at her ancient friend, for through all these millennia they had become friends, and felt profound admiration and profound sadness at the same time. "You are the bravest of us all," Nyx whispered, "and the loneliest." "Not so lonely," Cuca'thra replied, and there was even a touch of humor in her voice. "I have millions of visitors every night, they just don't know I'm here." And it was true. Every soul that transited between wakefulness and sleep passed, on some level, through where Cuca'thra was. Each one was a brief connection, a moment of contact. It wasn't the same as true companionship, but it was something. And it was enough. Chapter 13. Echoes in the Modern Time. Time continued its inexorable march. The ancestral forest became just a memory, preserved in small fragments. Humans dominated the world, transforming it in ways ancient creatures could never have imagined. But some things remained constant. Humans still slept, still dreamed, still needed protection as their souls wandered the dream realms. And Cuca'thra was still there. She had learned to adapt to the modern world. Human dreams had changed, now including machines, cities, concepts that didn't exist in ancient times. But the essence remained the same. Hopes, fears, desires, traumas. The fundamental building blocks of dreams were eternal. A child in the modern world, woken by a nightmare about digital monsters, would feel the same comforting presence that an ancient child had felt thousands of years before. An adult struggling with anxiety about the future would find the same kind of peace in healed dreams that their ancestors had found. Cuca'thra had become part of the very fabric of reality. As fundamental as gravity or time, she was the line between chaos and order, between the primordial void and the ordered world of dreams. The other guardians still visited her, though less frequently now. They too had adapted to the modern world, finding new roles, new ways to serve. But Cuca'thra remained where she had always been, unchanging, eternal, vigilant. Chapter 14. The Legacy of the Guardian. If you ask anyone, anywhere in the world about Cuca'thra, they probably won't know the name. The story has been lost in the mists of time. The legends have transformed and changed until they are unrecognizable. But ask them if they've ever felt a comforting presence when frightened at night. If they've ever woken from a nightmare, feeling strangely calm. If they've ever had the sense that someone was watching over them while they slept. And they will say yes, because Cuca'thra is still there, still watching, still protecting, still weaving her lullabies through the collective consciousness of all sentient beings. She is the reason babies eventually learn to sleep through the night. She is why traumatized people can, with time, find peace in their dreams. She is why, even in the darkest moments, sleep can bring relief. She is the guardian of eternal sleep. And as long as there are beings who sleep, who dream, who need rest and renewal, she will remain at her post. Not because she has to, but because she chooses to. Because 200,000 years ago, a young spirit learned that true power comes not from strength, but from sacrifice. True purpose is not found in glory, but in silent service. And that lesson, that legacy, continues to echo through time. Epilogue. An eternal promise. Somewhere between the waking world and the world of dreams, in a place that exists and doesn't exist at the same time, Cuca'thra remains. She never regretted her choice, never regretted it. Every protected soul, every transformed nightmare, every peaceful sleep justified her sacrifice 1,000 times over. She doesn't know how much longer she will last. The primordial void is patient, and she is only one consciousness no matter how powerful. Eventually she will wear thin, and another will need to take her place. But until that day comes, she will remain vigilant, dedicated, loving. And every night as twilight falls over the world, as millions of creatures close their eyes and begin the journey to the world of dreams, she is there to guide them. Sleep, she whispers, her voice echoing through the layers of reality. Sleep and dream. You are safe. I am here. I will always be here. And in the depths of sleep, somewhere between consciousness and unconsciousness, every dreamer hears that whisper, not with ears but with the heart, and they sleep deeply, protected by the guardian of eternal sleep. Cuca'thra, who chose eternal imprisonment so others could rest in peace. Cuca'thra, whose love for those she protects never diminished, even after 200,000 years. Cuca'thra, the guardian who never sleeps, so that all others may. This is her story, her truth, her legacy. And as long as there is night, as long as there are dreams, as long as there is a need for quiet rest in a chaotic world, Her story will continue, because she is not just a guardian, she is a promise. A promise that, no matter how dark the night, no matter how frightening the nightmares, no matter how lost we feel in the realms of sleep, we are never truly alone. And so ends the story of Cuca'thra, guardian of eternal sleep. But her vigil never ends. This night, when you close your eyes to sleep, remember, she is there, between the worlds, keeping chaos at bay, weaving peace into your dreams. And in the comforting darkness of sleep, you may just feel her presence, ancient, loving, eternal. Sleep well, dreamer. You are protected.